4 mics.
I like that. So good.
5 guys, 4 mics. Yeah, great.
That'd be just a great podcast name.
What?
5 guys.
That
4
would
mics.
be.
5 guys, 4 mics. It's pretty good.
Risque.
Yeah. But then, like, what happens if you eventually buy a 5th mic to make your
Well, the
audio
thing is
quality
you
better?
don't.
Okay, well, to each their own, I guess.
You just have to suck it up and go with that for the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have to add a 6th guy and buy a 5th mic.
A 6th boy.
Yeah.
We ready to do this?
He's born ready.
I think eventually you can go to 5 mics, but like it'd be a fun thing to start off with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like how at one point we were like 6 guys, 1 mic.
We've done 7 or 8 guys, 1 mic before.
1 mic.
Mm-hmm.
1 mic, 1 dream.
Spike the Mike Daniels.
Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 277 of the Geek First
Whoa.
podcast. I'm the Starman Trasnails. Shout out to Bart Starr.
To what?
Bart Starr.
Bart Starr. Is
He's
that a wrestler?
No, he's a very famous Green Bay Packers quarterback. Just passed away today. So shout out to him. That's my team. That's my guys.
My guy.
20 guys, 1 ball, you know.
20 guys, 1 ball. I am the Adam Hardcaster, Dylan Muss.
I am the play-by-play Tyler Briggs.
I'm the bright Taylor Field.
Wow, that was a...
Just putting it out there.
Just
That was
putting it
an
out.
easy
Very
one.
just like
I like your shirt, Taylor.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very
It's
good.
always fun to see that shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me.
Yeah,
Keeps you humble.
That fateful day.
I'm going to get Kirk one of those, but replace it with Travis. So give it a little Christmas...
It's just like a pixel of your face.
A little Christmas gift next year. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what's happening right now, is a Brightburn review. Before we get into that, some plugs just to get out of the way. Me and Taylor reviewed Aladdin. That was, something. But go check it out and see what we thought about that. What else was dropped this week? We did a newscast, me, Dylan, and Kirkland.
Mhm.
That was
That's
a
a
good
fun one.
Yeah, talked about Terminator, Once Upon a Time, Toy Story 4,
Ultimate Alliance.
Wolverine, Venom. We
Yeah.
didn't talk about Venom at all. I don't know why I said Venom. But
We probably mentioned him in the Ultimate Alliance section. So his name came up.
yeah, probably the boss
Mhm.
fight
Yep.
gameplay.
There you go.
Next week, sometime next week, I think it'll be the Friday or Saturday. It'll be the Gauntlet match dropping. Briggs, no spoilers, but you're going up against the Ruben.
Reuben.
How you feeling over there, champ?
Feeling great.
Mm-hmm.
Unthreatened.
Wow. Yikes, Ruben. So that'll be dropping. Stay tuned, and that's why you subscribe to YouTube, so you can see that, or subscribe to anywhere on our podcast and video feeds, so you can get any drop that we drop, any podcast.
Any
we
drop
drop.
that we drop.
We're dropping drops. Yeah, get it right away. Please give us a review on iTunes. A written review would be wonderful if you like what we do here or any other podcast. We're trying to get to 200. We're over 100, so you guys have been big time helping us out. Got some good ones, got some bad ones. So
Of course.
whatever you hear or whatever you write, we thank you. So let's get into Brightburn. We're gonna do non-spoilers. We're all gonna go around the room, and then I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna throw it to somebody. They're gonna say Geek versus Assemble, and then
Oh, snap.
we're going into spoilers. So who
Isn't
wants
Jessica
to
the only
start?
one who's done the Geek vs. Assemble at this point?
Not anymore.
Yeah, something's going to change today. I don't know who it's going to be.
No, Taylor already did one on Aladdin.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a kid, You lose
Why didn't we get to do one on the newscast?
Because we don't jump into spoilers on the newscast.
Sure we do. Sure we do.
No, we don't.
Fuck.
Geek vs. Assemble is the official. You have no more excuses once you've heard those words. You've no complaints. So
Fair enough. Start us off, Taylor.
Geek versus Assemble.
no.
Oh, no!
Privileges revoked.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
you're not getting that. What do you
Jeez.
think about the movie non-spoilers? And then we get into spoilers.
I just want to go to spoilers.
Jeez Louise.
Nowhere
We were
safe
talking
now.
about it. I was building up anticipation. And
Be
you're
honest, you were
like,
totally zoned out.
Yeah, you were. He's thinking about
oh,
Godzilla. He's
I'm
thinking about-
thinking about
losing a
Godzilla
Richter.
next
Godzilla.
week.
Godzilla.
But for me, the movie, it did not meet my expectations.
Oh, Taylor.
That's
Wow.
not usually the way Taylor starts off a spoiler-free
That's
review.
not what you want to hear. When you're a director and you're listening to the Geek Verse podcast and Taylor's not happy.
Well, it's not that, I was not happy,
Hello.
was the movie like terrible or anything like that? No, not at all. For me personally, the movie just I guess I went to the theater thinking it was going to be this kind of a film, this kind of setup, all of this kind of
What's
What is
this?
this?
What's the this?
Extrapolate some info.
And you can do that non-spoilers.
This it would refer to it being, I guess I figured, like you had mentioned, like it seemed really rushed. which I didn't enjoy that.
He's just taking my review.
No. Hear me out.
No. I haven't even
This is
told.
why you don't tell Travis.
That's savage.
This is why you don't tell
Taylor.
Taylor what your review
I haven't
is.
even told the listeners what
I
I thought.
know.
And you're like, you're just taking my stuff.
I
Well,
know.
you're doing the Doctor Strange thing with your hand right now too. You're trying to rewind.
And that's all I'm
going
going to say. That's
This
all
is
I'm
not
gonna
the
say
review you're
because-
looking for.
Because I could relate. You know, it definitely carried that, but for
damn it.
me, it definitely just showed that it wasn't much of a horror movie as I was expecting. I feel like it was more like a not like a gore fest, but it was just more focused on it being, you know, gory with certain elements. It didn't capitalize on all different aspects of being a horror flick, and it relied on just cheesy certain moments to kind of scare you. And all in all, I was mostly just in awe of certain scenes that were, you know, visually they were quite stunning. They looked really awesome, but things happened way too quick. I didn't like how the story progressed down the way that it kind of was trajectory kind of aimed down or whatever.
Well, I think we
But,
got it with progressed.
Yeah. But the overall, I didn't have a problem with the characters. I did find the parents to be a little bit dumb. But I don't know. There's just a few things that I'm curious about that we'll talk about in spoilers. But I didn't. It didn't meet my expectations. It's not like this isn't gonna be like a golden review from Taylor Field today. You know, I'll point
It'll
out
be
the
a good
pros.
review, even if you
It'll
don't
be
like the
good.
movie, right?
Yeah.
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 There you go.
But I expected more, and the trailers I feel like it made this movie to be out so much more than what I was expecting it to be.
So you wouldn't
So
recommend
So you're saying
it.
it was good trailers.
It was good trailers, but there's no way, you know, I'm gonna go see this again in theaters. I wouldn't go on a cheap Tuesday.
But you'll probably get a steel case for it. Is what you're
No.
Oh yeah,
okay.
he needs that red steel.
Honestly,
case.
I wouldn't. I would be down to get like I don't know, like
Oh,
a little like
aluminum case.
No, no. At
saying.
most,
Metal alloy.
At
case.
most, I'd be
Yeah.
down to change one of my monitors to a wallpaper or a
Okay.
background screen of like the cool Brightburn kind of like.
I've never done
art.
that to a movie or video game that I semi-liked and been like, I'm gonna make.
That's
that
why
my
only one of
wallpaper.
my computer monitors.
Lord of the Rings and Elder Scrolls have taken that slot for me personally.
It'd be the monitor that I use the least as well. So
Oh,
So you wouldn't recommend it.
No, but the thing is, the one you use the least is when you want to have the best wallpaper because you always have the wallpaper there.
no,
when you
usually
don't
I have
tablet.
I have my iTunes up on there playing music all the time. So
Yeah. Okay.
So it
but
is
you
in
do
use.
make a good case.
So for the listeners,
So
would
yeah,
you
you do
recommend
use
it?
it.
You've every
I
time I've asked
recommend-
you've kind of done a head nod.
I
right? Which doesn't
I
help our
recommend to the
great
listeners that you should go see it on Cheap Tuesday and not pay full price for it.
Ooh,
Okay,
Ooh.
I'm gonna. Well, I can't really go because everything I was gonna say Taylor just said, so I'm gonna pass it on. No, yeah, I
very rushed.
yeah. The progress. Yeah, you could see where it was going, but it didn't hit its bullet point. No, I was very excited from these trailers because this looks the most of. We haven't really got it yet, other than kind of what Joker's coming at, like these what if one-off comic book tales of take a character and what if this happened, kind of like what comic books do. So this was exciting. It looked very much like a what would happen if Superman was bad, and I liked that plot. I think they executed what they set out to do good enough, but not to be anything great. It kind of hit the bare minimum what I was wanting. I enjoyed it. That might sound negative. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I like horror movies, so I think they hit those beats. I didn't have the same problem as Taylor, and maybe someone else might have, so I'm not going to spoil their thoughts. I thought all the horror stuff was fine. I didn't actually get the jump scary vibe too much. I was sitting beside Taylor and Kirkland who were jumping 24/7 all the time. It was nuts.
That is bull straight A shit.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I liked the runtime. It wasn't too long. It didn't overstay its welcome. I liked the world they set up, but it was, as Taylor stole from me earlier, it was just really rushed. And I think that I don't know if it needed more runtime or it needed to take away runtimes from other storylines and bring them over to probably the main thing. And what was rushed in a non-spoiler way was just the kid and his family. There's some great dynamics there, but it moves very quickly. The movie's only an hour and a half, and it does feel like that. And this time in kind of a bad way, where not in the way of, like I said, I didn't enjoy myself. I still walked up being, okay, I had a good time, but it didn't meet the trailers. I do also think that the trailers show a lot, but I think that's kind of the Get Out effect, where I think they need to sell this movie, and it's not doing that well financially, but they just need to sell it because no one knows what Brightburn is. Everyone's seen comic movies, so I liked it. It kind of I would say it was under my expectations, but not by far. I was because I don't know this director's work. It was James Gunn producing it, but his brothers were writing it. So if James Gunn was writing or directing it, then my expectations were high. I was just hoping for a good time horror thing, and anything else better than that I would have been thrilled with, but I didn't get that. But I got a kind of fun, dark superhero movie, and I like that because other than Logan, The Crow, Punisher, Spawn, and those are old ones and some bad ones, this I think is a decent movie, and it still is cool to see a superhero in a radar world where there's lots of violence going on. So I enjoyed myself. I'd recommend it if you like the superhero genre or horror films specifically, but other than that, I think you don't even need to cheap choose. I think you could catch it on Netflix or something like that. So
You call this a dark superhero film. Would you not call it a super villain film or something like that?
The idea is it's a spin on a superhero, right? He has a cape like Superman. They kind of go for that. I feel like if you look at all the trailers, right, it's like, oh, it's about what happens if he was good, but then some bad stuff happened. You know, and that's the stuff that I don't think they really deliver on. I think they take a lot of shortcuts. With that idea is really good, and they kind of just go for the bare minimum. So yeah, it could be a supervillain film.
Thank you, Taylor. I think I'm in a different spot than you guys because I don't even know if I watched the full trailer back when it was released, but someone mentioned it in the cast, maybe dropped a trailer, and I think I watched like maybe 10, 20 seconds. I was like, that looks interesting enough. I think I'll go see it. And then I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then, oh yeah, it's coming out. I'm going to get my ticket. So I didn't really have a lot of expectation or I guess anticipation going into it. I didn't really recall anything from the trailer. So to me, it's probably in a long time the movie I've most went into just like completely blind. I just like kind of the initial hook of it, and that's why I was like, yeah, I was interested enough to go see it just based off that. And my experience with it was that it was pretty decent. Like I don't think there was anything that was particularly stand out as being bad, but there wasn't anything that stood out to be great or that interesting. I think the horror elements were a little lackluster. To me, it was very much just like jump scare. Like wasn't a ton of build up or I guess resounding effect around the horror themes. It was just like something would be really loud and hit your ears, and then you'd kind of like jump back, or maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. But that's kind of all it did for horror stuff. And then there's kind of a little bit of gore elements as well, I guess, like Saw kind of style. And I thought the effects on those were fantastic. There was a couple of those, and I thought they did a really good job with those. But it wasn't really an effective horror movie for me. But I don't think that's necessarily a problem because it had other stuff going on, and it's as Travis mentioned, like something interesting with what we have going on for like popular movies right now. Obviously, tons of superhero movies and different styles, but this is even different from all of those because I guess it's you could say Suicide Squad is focusing on some bad guys, but that's a very different type of movie than this is, because this is a lot more down to earth, not in terms of I guess just in terms of scale, because it's really just kind of a small, like a family story at the same time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought it was decent, but like music soundtrack wasn't really anything that stood out too much. The effects were good, but was pretty down to earth. I don't know. It was fine. I guess I'm not too like passionate about it. It was just like a fine movie. I don't really have any problems with it, but nothing really stands out either. So yeah.
I'm gonna jump right into it. For me, it was pretty actually quite disappointing. I'm not gonna soften the blows here, but it was pretty disappointing, and I think, for me at least, as far as horrors go, I have pretty high expectations though, just because I only watch horrors pretty much for the Geekverse, and because of that, my horror pool of movies is very small, and so the percentage of really good ones in there, like It and Hereditary, take up a large portion of that pool compared to people who watch a lot of horror movies.
Sure.
And so when I watch a horror movie, I'm just like, if it's not on the same level as It, I'm disappointed, basically.
Wow,
which is like, it's harsh, but that's what every horror movie should kind of strive to be, especially if you're going to involve kids in it. 100%. I think that's a big thing. And with Brightburn involving a child's kind of story and their impact on the world, and kind of like, for me at least, I expected at least a little bit more heart in it, which we got a lot of from It. But it was just really lackluster, I think, in the majority of things it tried to do, as far as story and developing sort of like that, the child becoming a villain and being evil. It felt pretty rushed. The things just kind of happened. There didn't feel like the characters had really any agency in why it was happening. The family sort of aspect was just sort of there. There wasn't a lot of impact to that. And then we had the horror elements, which was basically came down to just some interesting set pieces, but it was really just jump scares in the exact same way, where it would just be all of a sudden, oh, this small childlike figure is there with a mask and glowing red eyes. And they just did that in different locations. And this time he's flying, and then this time he's shooting lasers and that kind of stuff. So after maybe like the first jump scare, it sort of fell off a bit. And I think with the horror movie like this, it's really tough for them to make it scary after the first sort of jump scare, because you know exactly what the bad guy is, and you kind of know what's driving them in a way. And then at that point, it's not that scary anymore. But then to keep creating these jumps and scares, it's really tough. And I think it kind of ended up being more of almost a thriller in a way, which without the depth of story to it fell off really hard, I found. There are some cool visual effects, at least. I think visually it was a really good movie. The way and just the fact that it's rated R was really cool to see, like these superhero like strengths like really just mess up a person.
Oh, yeah. Ripping through people.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things was in the trailer, there's that shot of him flying by and like slamming into the sheriff. And then I was like, man, what are they going to do with like when they actually show what happened to the sheriff there? And it's just a quick shot of just like blood splattered everywhere. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That would probably happen. So that was really cool to see. And just like they got really creative. Maybe not really creative, but a couple of the shots where it's just him like standing there kind of outside a window or something with only like the silhouette and the red eyes. Those were like really creepy, but as far as actual emotional impact and in terms of actually scaring you, it did kind of fall off a bit. So I would say overall I'm pretty disappointed in it, and I definitely Netflix stream it some way. I don't think you need to pay money to see this.
Glowing reviews here from the Geekverse. Yeah. Anything we want to shout, non-spoilers, before we get into this shindig?
I feel like it's interesting that Taylor might... I mean, I guess it's kind of between Tyler and Taylor on who dislikes this movie more. But if this is Taylor... If Taylor's on the lowest end of the spectrum here, that's pretty interesting. That might be the first time in Geekverse history.
No.
Because you didn't like Jigsaw, but we all hated Jigsaw.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, but I had a much horrible experience than compared to you guys. With
What? No.
Mr. Texter, you know.
Okay, well, that's not the movie.
That's your fault.
You can't blame the movie for that.
You should have said something.
It's not the movie's fault. The movie didn't plant that guy next to you.
What was those mouth noises he was doing?
It might have.
Oh, boy. All right. 3, 2, 1. Tyler breaks.
Geekverse. Assemble.
Oh.
So we're into spoilers
Creepy.
now. Yeah, I don't know. Anywhere want to start? Anywhere specifically?
I got one
so
thing.
Taylor,
to
Mr.
kick
Negative.
us
Just
off
one
right
thing.
here. So
Jumping from Spider-Man
personally, this
4.
is a bit of a negative for me.
PS4.
But it started off where he was in the classroom and the teacher was talking about, bees and wasps, and the kid just dove right into talking about the differences. And I feel like that just outlined the whole movie and foreshadowed everything. That this kid, how like what wasps or whatever they are, they basically put their young inside this colony because they can't actually create their own colonies anymore. They put it there to take over the colony or whatever like that. They get raised or whatever. The bees think it's their own. And the kid explains that whole scenario, and that's exactly what happens in the movie. Essentially, that's what this kid is. His purpose. He's sent there and he gets raised by the indigenous, humanity, and then he just is after his purpose is to escalate and take it over, and he's basically is fulfilling that whole analogy that he says about the bees and the wasps.
So did you think that was effective, or did you dislike that?
I didn't like that it was so blunt obvious that they said that, or he was really specific about it. I feel like, okay, this must mean something because it's getting a lot of emphasis on, and again, it makes sense because
I feel like it doubles as showing that he's really smart.
Yeah, I think it serves a dual purpose in that one, it's, I would say, relatively clever foreshadowing. I think maybe there could be more sort of around that scene to make it blend in a little bit, but I think overall as foreshadowing, it's pretty cleverly done. And then on top of that, it also sets up his relationship with the other students, being that he's that kind of like nerdy outcast kind of the kids sort of the other kids don't really get along with him, hence the bully kind of making fun of him for being a maggot, and that he kind of like he stands above the rest, and it sets
and then
up
that one girl sympathizing
and it
with
sets
him,
up the relationship with the other girl, so it serves a couple different purposes. So.
Well, it's true, but at the same time, I feel like they never built up to the whole bully aspect ever again after that. It just focused on, because even then they show him working with everyone else and the kids are all trusting him and pushing him. And it was just the girl that was traumatized. So again, I feel like they should have had the bullies incorporated in another scene to kind of show that he's being put down.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I'm more surprised that's a negative for you, because usually those things aren't really negatives for you.
I like where they were going and how they set it up, but I just, the whole time thinking, well, they just... I don't like that it was so obvious. You know, I would have liked it if it was more subtle. Like you said, blended in. But I get what you're saying, though. They were trying to, you know, set that stage for he was intelligent. You know, he was bullied, and obviously this girl does like him. But then, yeah, as you said, he fucks that up royally.
Yeah,
so.
but I think is also, I think that...
Worse than Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
The problem is
Kylo
necessarily
says a
with
shot.
the foreshadowing is more they didn't really... the dual purpose of it, setting up as in the bullying and the girl liking him, they didn't use those aspects of that further on in the movie, which kind of dulled it. But I like the wasp analogy at least.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, maybe it doesn't dive in every aspect that scene introduces, but I think it's a fairly multi-purpose scene. So I thought it was good, and I like the analogy personally. I don't know. I think bees are a pretty cool creature.
Well, I did like the analogy. I went home and I was Googling wasp facts and stuff.
There you go. There's actually a wasp awareness movie.
You're like, is that true?
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah, that kind of is tied. I didn't have a problem with that scene. That seems fine. It kind of had a problem that ties to some of my problems that Taylor's bringing with the bowling and the girl. I feel that stuff was very rushed. The stuff with the girl was rushed. And for me, that I didn't like that this is clearly a Superman tribute. You know, I'll say rip off, but not really. Just kind of using that concept and the idea of moving forward. And the thing that I thought we were going to play with, and that's my fault. And like I said, this is just putting my ideas of what I thought the movie was going to be, and then what it actually turned out to be. I didn't really enjoy that much. To me, Brightburn, what's his name again? Brandon
Breyer.
Yeah. So
Brandon.
my problem was it just feels like, and because me and Taylor telling about this after the movie, that they did set up the B thing of like, oh, he's just there to take over, whatnot. But I never felt this kid had a chance to be good at all. That was my biggest thing. That the thing with Superman is, so he lands in Kansas, and the idea is because he had these good parents that raised him right, that's why he's such a good guy and he does these great things for the world. And even in the trailers, that made it seem like the dad was kind of not the biggest fan, but he was not as supportive as the mom. So I thought we were going to go that route of, you can see what happens when even one parent is not as supportive. But really, once that dad decides we got to kill him, it is after he's killed a bunch of people. To me, I would have liked if he did jump to that conclusion sooner, or he was more. Even then, he was pretty understanding. Even after he got pushed, then he started to really think, okay, something's wrong. But that was my problem of, that tension was gone for me. And that's where I just sat back and went, okay, I'm just going to enjoy it like a fun kind of cheesy, horror movie. Yeah. I thought we were going to get a lot deeper, and we weren't, because no matter what, just felt like he was going to be bad. No matter, his mom couldn't save him, his dad couldn't save him, and I didn't understand like that moment when his dad does try to shoot him. I didn't feel that at that point that kid really still loved his father, but they tried to play it off that how could you do this, and that would have been a big moment. But to me, that's the problem. They were kind of confused what they wanted. If they wanted he's just a monster that's going to destroy everything, or he is someone you're supposed to care for. And I think they just kind of blended them and didn't do either one right. So that was my biggest problem.
But he felt like he was a good kid, sincere kid, up until like shortly into the beginning of the film when they showed that he was sleepwalking and that the ship activated and activated him. Yeah. From then on, at least I felt like this kid is bad.
But then everything from his life is just gone, it feels like. Everything wrong and right.
I think that was a big flaw for me, was when it really just took away the agency of the parents and their effect on the kid, and the kid having to make these difficult choices as to whether he's doing the right thing or not.
Because no matter what they said or did to him, he'd go and kill that girl's neighbor, or the friend, their uncle, his own uncle.
Well, it's because you don't really get many scenes of him before he has like this change to like being evil.
I think
it's and maybe it comes like what you were saying earlier, Taylor, of like that schoolroom scene. Like that's really the only scene you get of him interacting with anyone that aren't just his parents. So there's not really a grander worldview of what his life is like before that. And yes, I guess you get a couple scenes of like him growing up. You get him as like a baby, and then he's like playing with his dad in like the sand pit. So you kind of get those briefly, but it doesn't. I mean, it's not the same actor. You don't really get those moments with him, so it doesn't. Yeah. It feels a little disconnected. So I think and I think it comes down to what Travis was saying of it only being an hour and a half long, or they kind of get to that point where he already has that switch, which yes, it amps up in intensity for him being just, you know, there's a couple people that he dislikes, like the girl's mom for like obvious reasons, but then it progresses to like taking out his parents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it like that change from the very beginning to the end is pretty quick into the movie when he has that change. It's probably like 20 or 30 minutes in. So
it's just like the ship lights up and then he has a seizure and then he's evil.
a bad guy.
He's just a bad guy now. It doesn't really matter what anyone else did.
Yeah, and then to me, then they should just went with that where he was full on possessed and okay, more from the parents' point of view of okay, we got to take down our own child. This sucks,
Yeah.
but they try to still give him those emotions of doing right and wrong. Like I didn't buy him breaking that girl's hand in that moment. Yeah, she let him drop and said ew, but I still just feel everything he's learned, and he's still supposed to like her to a point that I thought he wouldn't just be. If it was an accident, sure, but for him to just full on, which that was like a. I wish they didn't make it so egregious. I think some of the gore worked, but I think stuff like that, literally when he broke her hand and like grabbed it and like twisted, I wish it was just like a simple, he just grabbed it really hard and that broke her knuckles.
Yeah,
they
or
didn't
like
need to make
he just like crushed her fingers and that's
yeah,
it.
they didn't need
rips
to
her
make
hand
they
off.
didn't need to make him Jason
It's like
Voorhees.
him not realizing how much strength he's using, but
Exactly.
that one's like very intentional.
Yeah, and that to me is like that girl's arm is going to be broken for a long time. I don't know if she'll
Not a
even
good arm.
She'll probably
get used
like
to that.
she probably won't be able to write with that hand anymore.
Yeah, and I'm
Damn.
forgetting because
Sucks.
I saw it 2 days ago. What was because she was supporting? Oh, right, because he was just creeping on her in the house, and that to me even felt weird. That he's just. I get it when he had that talk with the dad of right now, but to me that didn't correlate from. I would still feel that he would know that was creepy. I'd find if he does the Aladdin thing, he pops up on the doorstep and she's like, "Why are you here?" But to be like hiding in the drapes and like
It's puberty.
and like the whole like running, turning the laptop, I didn't understand what they're trying to do with Brendan,
it's kind of
know?
confusing because before it's like I was saying earlier, before you can see that he's clearly like kind of an outcast a bit, but that doesn't mean that he's like totally socially inept and he like doesn't understand these concepts.
Yeah.
And he's shown to be a smart guy, so you think he'd at least understand. Understand how other people would like interact in these kind of scenarios or something. But since we don't get any other scenes like that, it kind of does make it confusing. Like, why is he in that bedroom doing that stuff? That
And
doesn't
it
really make
was-
sense.
And he knows it's wrong. He knows.
Yeah,
It's
like
not
obviously
that-
when his dad's talking to him, he's a little confused, and his dad does it in an awful way.
Yeah.
I'll give him that as well. But yeah, it doesn't really add up. And I guess you can fall onto the explanation that he's not from Earth; he's an alien. So it's like
but you
it
still
kind
grew
of
up
fits. I guess so, but you could also, I don't know. It's extra weird. Like maybe he doesn't have those innate abilities that like humans have, right? Like everything he knows is like learned instead of having natural stuff. Perhaps, perhaps as an explanation. I don't know. It's
or
not
maybe
satisfactory.
His species, just like
necessarily.
their sexual urges, basically, are different than ours instinctually. In a
Well,
way.
they could be because remember he, along with all like the porn and nude mags, he had brains and hearts
Organs,
being
yeah.
operated on. So
Yeah,
maybe, but then
really.
again, that's the problem. Dylan's right. You can do the because he's not from Earth, but if you don't explain that, then it's just he's an alien, and why is he doing this? He's an alien. Okay, that's kind of lazy. You know,
Mhm.
you can do that, but then try and get into it more, explain some because we still don't even know, and which is fine because that's kind of the point of the mystery. And I don't know if we'll talk about maybe the end if they're trying to angle for a sequel, but even though we don't know the purpose of the ship waking up at that point, because you'd feel like even the ship, if this was a planned attack, you'd still wait till maybe he was older he might not be as confused. We could talk to him a bit more and say, hey, our planet's at risk or whatnot. Like we don't know what their motivation is, and that's fine if you want to leave some mystery, but if you have all these other questions, you can't leave everything a question, because there comes a point of curiosity to laziness, and that's what I felt they kind of fell into.
These are things I want answered, and I would be down to see it in a sequel. But
Michael Rooker, baby.
Well,
There's a fish, man. I
man.
wanted to see that world. I don't know if it was just Easter eggs or what this world could be. It was looking really fun, and I loved all the news clippings they did at the end of showing him take out these buildings. It was scary. All the stuff like they did with him. He was like an intimidating force.
Well, I'm wondering, not that they answer to cover it at all in the movie, but it just makes me wonder, okay, was this kid is he actually from another planet of humanoids or whatever, or was he created to be like a human or
To look
like
to look like
Yeah,
us to
was he,
blend in with our
specifically
society?
all right,
or-
we're gonna send one of our young to this planet, so we need to modify them to look like the
Exactly, because he was set with the goal to destroy the Earth. So
Yeah.
it just makes me wonder, what civilization did all that? And I think they could lead into some pretty cool stories. And it doesn't have to be like a direct sequel, but it could be like an anthology kind of series or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be cool. So
That'd be cool. It's like it's sort of like I guess the Red Sun sort of thing where he ends up kind of like becoming a sort of like it's like 15 years in the future. He's now like kind of ruling over the world in a way. And then there's like a Batman that pops up who like you get like these other superhero forces who are now fighting against him because you got one great being on one side that's going to force other great beings to pop up and create conflict. So
someone's going to find
Looper.
the ship too, I would imagine. I mean, because the ship's still underneath the barn, and it looked like mostly the house was just destroyed from the plane crash, but I don't think the kid... I don't know. I don't feel like he would have been aware enough to probably like hide the ship or destroy it. I think
I would
he was
disagree.
too caught up in the moment.
Every time he killed someone, he made it look like a crime scene.
He did, but I don't think
the whole Dexter Morgan, like, oh, car accident, oh, a plane crash.
True.
He did cover his tracks a lot.
He
in
did,
this
but I don't.
Yeah, but then we
which
see
I
that he's ripping down buildings in the news clippings.
But I don't think he's aware that
True.
I don't think he was aware that his mom knew of his actual weakness, like to kill him. Like I don't think he probably assumed that was part of the ship. I don't know.
I don't even think that. I think he got cut, but I don't even think he was thinking that's my weakness. Maybe I think he would now when she went to stab him with that and be like, why specifically did she have that? But who knows? Because that thing, I do think sometimes he was smart, but then like other times Dylan said, now he's just outright destroying everything. So, and who knows? I don't know what the character's motivation.
Yeah, he could play that off as, oh, there's a big bombing, but like,
I think part of it is that
we see he's throwing down those giant like signs in the lawn and stuff.
A lot of conflicting sort of themes here, and that I think part of why he wants to at least cover up the stuff that he does in Brightburn is because he wants to keep his like normal human identity kind of secret. So like his parents being murdered, he would want to make that look like an accident. People who are close to him dying, he would want to make it look like he didn't have anything to do with it. But he also has that sort of like take over the world sort of thing, and he wants to make his mark, and he wants people to like bow before him.
That's true.
So he wants his superhero crimes or supervillain crimes to be known, but he doesn't want his own I guess secret identity known. So I think it makes sense for him to want to make the crimes that are close to him, the personal ones, that he wants to cover those up, whereas the bigger ones where he has some detachment from that, it makes sense for him to want it to be known. But then even then, he was still putting those little like markings at each crime scene.
Yeah,
he made a point of that.
Yeah, but we also saw in this movie the only person that had caught on to that, or him in particular, other than his parents, was the cop who he blasted into a million pieces.
The sheriff was gone.
So maybe he shared that with someone else. Obviously, the other cop that was working there got it kind of blasted as well. But who knows if you shared that with anyone else and if they're onto him at all?
Yeah,
I think the only person, if there was a sequel, which I don't think there will be, it's not doing the greatest. Well, Batman, but then also the little girl's still alive, and she would probably be able to put 2 and 2 and 4 together. You know, just because. You know, I feel
like if the second one had him as just a regular kid still walking around doing stuff, I feel like that wouldn't fit at all. Like I feel like at this point he's just cruising around the earth destroying shit.
Yeah, because and I think like the where they I was just saying the themes of him like wanting to hide what's close to him, but then also just the way he interacted with everyone. You expect like a kid at least, or you'd expect him to want to like keep up appearances, but the way he interacted with everyone was like, I'm better than you, and like nothing you can do will affect me. So it didn't really make sense as to why he wanted to even bother keeping up appearances or like make these things look.
It was like for that cookie that the cops gave him. It was all for the cookie.
Especially, it seems like that ship is the only thing, to our knowledge, that could take him out, and you could easily get rid of or hide that. You know, just throw that bomb in the lake, and you're good to go.
He's obviously familiar with the ship itself when he like went down and put a body down there and ripped it open.
Whatever he was doing,
so he knows it exists and he knows that it's not from this world. So.
Yeah, true. Do you think that that like glass piece from the ship would have pierced him, killed him? You think it would have?
Oh, I think so.
I don't think it would have killed him though, because it didn't look like it had like some crippling effect on him. It just like can cut him basically.
But I think if she pierced his heart with that, that's where I think it could pierce his skin and stab.
Yeah,
because it sliced his hand out pretty bad.
Yeah, I think it could took him out, but Elizabeth Banks worked too slowly.
His hand was healed like pretty quickly.
It was healed, but
so I feel like he could have. She would have, if she did stab him, he would have then like ripped her apart and then took out the piece of metal and gone away and then healed up quickly. So,
I don't know. I guess we don't really know if he has healing of some sort.
Because there wasn't like something where it's like he gets cut by the metal and then he no longer has his strength or anything, or he's not like he's susceptible to other weaknesses at that point.
They gotta melt the metal down to a gas like Batman.
Oh yeah.
Because like with Superman, the kryptonite not only can it pierce his skin, but it also weakens all his other abilities.
kinda
He's
brings
no
it back
longer
to
a
being
super
Paul.
person anymore. Whereas they didn't really show whether it like took away his other powers and whatnot. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how you take him out. You just have to hope you find that. If not, he just takes over the world, and then that's it. That's your,
yeah.
you know.
Then does he just destroy the world after he takes over, or does he like rule it?
Well, it
as,
said
like, a
take
colony
the world
Take
is what
the
he said. So I
world.
think
But then he also had the sketches of him like floating in space, like shooting lasers and destroying the world.
Maybe
I don't
he-
think he even knew what he just wanted.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
He's
he-
just a kid. Give him a break.
Maybe he's just destroying the world to get it all flat. Not the actual planet, but just everything destroyed. So whatever's out there can just really come down easily. And
Terraform.
yeah, and here we are. Even though if
Could be.
they're all like him, you could all just come down together and save himself the work. But who knows?
Who knows? Maybe Michael Rooker will save the day.
Could be
Michael
anything.
I
Rooker.
think he's dead meat in that world, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Where else we want to go?
I will piggyback quickly on him getting stabbed. I will say, the mom, she definitely took her time putting the arm way up there.
Yeah.
I would have been
I
like
feel like a quick
very
shank
I
would
love
have
you,
been like
son,
a
yeah.
better, less suspicious movement.
a good shank.
You
She
know,
was
something
torn.
like that.
Didn't want to kill her son. You know.
Yes, I get that. But then it
Mhm.
goes into the fact that she was just such denial and she was being dumb with the dad. The dad was, I think he was a smart one of the two until he shot the son in the head. That was definitely not smart.
Well,
I
that's
feel
the only
like.
play he had. What else was he gonna do?
Well, I know, but he could have talked it out. He could have figured something
No.
out.
Well, his wife wasn't listening to him, and she was the only one who knew about the ship cutting him. So
That's very
he couldn't
true.
have known about that.
But I feel like if you raise your son for 12 years and he never gets cut, he's never been
Do you think
broken
did
bone.
he tell her? She did not tell her that he was going to shoot.
No,
No,
that was
he
all
tried
his
to
own
hide
Which
it.
agenda.
I didn't like that I just felt it would have been clearly obvious for her.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go on a camping trip of just us two, just an hour before, not in the movie, but in their world.
Yeah.
I
I
thought it
thought it was
misunderstood
sort
that.
of believable.
I thought that
I didn't mind
that
it.
the parents were just going to go on a camping trip together. I'm like, that's an awful idea. Like, you're just going to
That's
leave
terrible.
the kid here alone.
See you, Brennan.
Mhm.
Awful idea.
Yeah.
No, I just thought she would have caught that. To me, it's just, especially because he's getting so crazy, at least enough to be
Yeah,
like,
but
I'm going to come with
but
you.
she's like clearly quite ignorant to many things.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss is definitely her mentality.
Yeah.
Enough.
Classic move. Here's a random like funny thing that, well, for me it was quite funny. There's I mentioned this to Briggs, but there's a scene where the two parents get back from like I guess her sister's husband had died in the car accident.
The uncle.
Yeah, the uncle. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. And they come back and they're like talking to him about it, and he clearly just doesn't give a shit. And in that scene, it's like the first time in the movie that the wife, I'm pretty sure it's the first time the husband's name is said, which is
Yeah.
Kyle. And so she just calls him like Kyle at some point. And then for some reason, the rest of that scene, I just could not. I was just picturing like Kyle, like Geek Kyle, like in that scene, like acting it out. And as a big fan of Kyle's acting, I just was like picturing him doing that whole scene, like getting mad at Brandon, like, Brandon, what are you doing? And for me, that personally, that was pretty funny.
I hope if Kyle has a kid, it goes better than this situation.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because that would be bad times for everybody.
You guys should reenact that scene. You'd be Brandon.
You'd have to get him to watch this movie, and that's a task in itself. But he'd probably check it out. It's not.
I don't
that
think it's not that scary.
I don't
It's
think
really
so.
just like a little like
Yeah.
the gore is.
Especially if you
gory.
watch it at home, you have those speakers down. It's not going to be that.
I don't know.
scary.
And I guess so far we've pretty much been exclusively negative on this, but
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. Like none of this stuff was like abysmally bad to me. It was just like by the numbers. It was basic. And
Yeah.
it didn't
Yeah.
really like nothing stood out as being excellent.
I like,
But nothing was like bad.
Yeah, I liked
necessarily.
all the stuff when he was Brightburn, like with his
Yeah.
uncle, with the mom
Yeah.
in the diner. All that stuff was well done, and that's. I think
Yeah.
Dylan's right. It's not to me a bad movie. I just think they set up so many things of expectations of, we could go here. Even if it is the Dexter Morgan covering your tracks, and I like the logo stuff. There's so many things, and I don't know. I don't feel like they really were setting up for a sequel. I feel like that was just a fun Easter egg to
Yeah.
put in there. of
It's
the
almost like
musical thing.
it's almost like something in the genre. You kind of do that now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
You
what-
leave the door open.
So I'm not sure if that was the hope, but if that was the hope, that's a big disappointment because you don't want to do that. And I just think the world and the idea of him was set up very well from trailers and even the beginning of the film, and then it just kind of deteriorates into, and that's the stuff that does deteriorate into good stuff. Even the scenes with the sheriff and the cops, that's really cool. And just him going through the house, like Briggs was talking about in the non-spoilers, just to see a superhero do all that stuff kind of unleashed. It's very similar the first time we saw Logan and he just cut off a guy's head with his claws. It was like, we've never seen that. That's crazy. And I love seeing the aesthetic and the real world aspects of that. It's just the story stuff that
you never
kinda
see
bogs
Cyclops
down.
blasting a hole through someone's face.
I think the story stuff doesn't let you allow us to enjoy as much. So I probably will see this movie again one day, and I think I will enjoy those more, knowing it's just kind of a basic, okay, having some fun here. But I like everything they did with Brightburn, and I thought that he was scary, and I like the look,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I think generally like the effects for him flying around destroying shit looked really good, and I particularly the scene with the woman in the diner and like the glass in her eye. I thought that scene was brilliantly shot. Like my eye was twitching. I was in pain watching that scene. They did a really, really good job there. And then also the scene with the uncle and his lower jaw kind of falling off Doom style. Like that was pretty intense. And I thought they did an excellent job there. And then even the scene when the husband has like a nightmare and he wakes up in like this kind of dreamscape in the woods, and then his wife, like her eyes like start bleeding out. I thought that scene was super creepy.
The blood just like falls over of like the baby cloth or something. The blood just like it looks normal, and then all of a sudden like the blood just like splatters out of like the bundle she's holding. And that was really cool.
And I even like the way all the parents were killed off. The way he gets the heat vision in the head, and you hear him screaming, but then you hear like the hollowness of his skull, and that's great. And it's a simple one, but it was nice and effective, and a little quieter of a death that Elizabeth Banks got of just taking her all the way up. And we didn't see her splatter and everything, but I didn't need that. And I liked all the deaths. Actually, I think they did a good job with those.
Unfortunately, her falling, I think, looked a little cheesy for me.
Yeah, I think so too. But
that sucks.
I liked the idea of up in the star. I like that shot of them together up, and there's just the stars around them. I thought that was a good idea. And you just see over shoulder the plane coming. You just know, oh man, he's gonna take out this plane, and it's no good. So all that stuff, that his super villain stuff was, I thought, very well done.
I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, I visually. Just all those scenes and those quick shots of him just being in the windows. You just see his red, suit in his eyes. It looks so awesome. I just thought it was fantastic. And, like that's the kind of stuff that would make for, a good steel case, just have the shininess of it, the red.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So you're buying the steel case, so you're saying.
No, but it's just, that's my recommendation to producer James Gunn and the Gun Bros out there. So,
the Gun Bros.
The Gun Bros. So.
There's a lot of them.
The Gunny Boys.
There's a lot of them.
There's almost too many, honestly. They get up to some mischief.
I won't say that. I won't throw that cross at their parents.
Delete the tweets.
You made too many kids.
Another completely random, irrelevant thing that I found funny is the scene where Brandon goes over to his aunt's house to like kind of talk her out of going to talk to the cops about his potential insanity. And so he's, the back light is like getting activated a couple times, and he like sneaks into the house, and there's like he's like off in the background, kind of like creeping there, classic horror movie. And she's like texting on her phone for what feels like 20 to 30 seconds, and then it zooms into like what she was texting, and it was like a line and a half. It was like just nothing at all.
Hey man, as someone that makes lots of spelling mistakes, texting can take a long time.
Yeah, but I don't know. The look on her face didn't look like I'm making mistakes and I'm hitting back. It looked like I have a very important message that I'm typing. But even like her facial expression that whole time, I just found really funny. Just like as an acting thing, like she was making the. I don't know. It's. I can understand that. I'm sure I would not act that well either. It was kind of an awkward scene because she's not actually typing anything. It's just like all acting for like 20 seconds. Yeah. So I thought it was kind of funny.
I think the whole scene was kind of awkward though when the uncle shows up and he gets him.
It was a good idea, but it definitely could have been better.
Well, just the way he's in the house, you feel like you'd go, "Hey, your nephew is just in our house. I'm taking him home. What the fuck? Like call, your sister or her husband." It was very kind of throwing.
Yeah, the fact that she didn't call her sister.
I thought that's who she was texting. Like, hey, he was at our house or whatever. Yeah. And the fact that she's like, oh, you just walk home now.
Yeah.
Logic,
especially after he's been acting strange.
Yeah.
And potentially hurting people. Like
logic was kind of out the window in that scene. Unfortunately,
I have to say, I thought it was very, very funny when the uncle walks into the closet and he's just standing there.
Yeah.
What the fuck you doing here, man?
That was a good scene. It was really fun to see that, like, him not realizing the actual power dynamic between the two. So it is kind of cool to turn that just like on its head. Mm-hmm. So I would like to see more of that, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It is what it is.
And I'd say for the most part, I think acting was fine all right. I think Elizabeth Banks is a great actress. I think she did good at what they gave her. And I really like that guy. I can never remember his name, but I was a fan of him in Parenthood, and he's kind of been around. But
the dad?
Yeah.
Kyle?
And even,
Kyle.
And even
Roy.
Even the kid, I think he did a good job of delivering those lines, feeling really cold, or when he'd give like a little really kind of evil, sadistic smile, but it's like nice and little. I thought he did a good job. So acting wise, too, I don't think everyone's like the fantastic actor in the world, but I think those main characters did good jobs and made me believe in the characters, even though I believed in the poor writing at times, but they made me believe in it. So, you know.
Oh, that's where he is. He's Badger from Breaking Bad.
Badger.
Yeah.
I was
Great
trying to figure out
character.
where he was from.
Yeah.
That actor's great.
Yeah.
He just plays that kind of a character so well.
Oh, that's what he does.
It's kind of
That's all
scummy.
That's all he does.
That's
but
all he
it's
does. Yeah, he's just a weed
He's always just Badger.
meth dealer
Always
in
Badger.
Breaking Bad.
Great guy.
Classic Roy. I guess so. We kind of were shitting on like the buildup of him as a bad guy, but I thought there were some good moments. Like I like to see when he's just chewing on that fork for like a long period
Yeah.
of time. It's kind of
Yeah.
creepy, right? Because you can't see his face. And there's a few moments of that where you can't see his face, but he's doing something like when the mom is walking in to him, kind of floating in the shed, and you can't see his face for a while, and you never really know. Right, because it's kind of playing up. Like sometimes he turns around, his like eyes are red, and he's all freaky. But a lot of time it's just like him being normal. And I think some of those scenes were well done, particularly the one with him munching on that fork.
I didn't mind those scenes like in an isolated
They
thing.
did it a lot though.
But I think the problem with me was that they made those scenes look like when his parents found him or something, he was like, oh my, I have no idea what I was just doing. Like he was kind of like possessed. But then it's pretty on the head where it's like he's not actually possessed. He's just evil. So it's like, is he just faking, kind of like being surprised that he did this own thing? Or is it like trying to make it seem like he still has like a human side to him, but he actually doesn't? And then it just felt like that was very, it didn't follow like a set theme of what they wanted to do with the development of him turning evil.
I don't know. I think there was still a progression to it where he had less and less control as it went on, and as like the powers became stronger, as he harnessed his powers more, he like lost more control of his human side. So I thought it was fair enough that he's like kind of in like this trance-like state, as he doesn't really know what's happening, because it's like the first time this has happened to him, when he's kind of getting pulled in by that light at first.
Yeah.
So to me it made sense, like the progression from him kind of zoning out at the start of the movie to when at the end of the movie he's not, and he's like purely faking it. So to me that worked.
All right.
Basically.
I don't think I agree with you on that, but that's okay.
That's totally okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
One scene, kind of piggyback on what you're talking about, those scenes where he, after he destroyed the cops or whatever, and the mom was hiding under the bed, and you just see the feet floating above the ground. That was absolutely terrifying.
Was
And then I love how it escalated when she came out, and you heard that creak on the floors, and obviously he's looking for her, but she hid out the window hanging there, but he just instantly just zooms into the room and is just looking around again, like just absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I like that he looks under the bed and then you see the other body that he flew in there. It was just like good shot, good angle. Nice job, Feige, you know.
I wasn't Feige.
Although
I wasn't Feige.
Damn.
I think even if I had super strength, I wouldn't just stick my hand in the lawnmower. That kind of bugged me, and that's fine because
and that was the
move.
first
That
thing he
been,
did.
Yeah,
that could have gone really bad.
That I understand because he's a
Yeah.
kid, but yeah, I think, and I get it. He literally just tossed a lawnmower, but you don't know you have super.
Yeah, I would
invulnerability.
expect the fork chewing scene first before
Yeah.
that, and then maybe like he accidentally almost hurts himself, but then it's like, oh, I didn't, and then you try the
like
lawnmower.
Unbreakable, that scene with Bruce Willis when they're just slowly putting more weight on, slowly. Like, let's see, it went from 0 to 100 real quick at the beginning. I was like, okay, fine, and then I thought maybe that fork thing wasn't in.
I mean,
the
to
movie.
be fair, it was a pretty faulty lawnmower, so maybe he thought it would just kind of
Very dull
cheap out on him.
blades.
Yeah.
Very dull.
Very dull blades.
I've never
Very
done that in
light.
my yard work.
like a Nerf lawnmower or something.
Well, I don't know. He's pretty strong, man.
Nerf
A
lawnmower.
Nerf
I mean, but he
lawnmower.
doesn't-
You know that
Very
Yeah.
he actually threw that.
He doesn't.
The
know
kid
that,
actually
though.
threw that.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
that's why
actor.
it's like a Nerf.
Not even a stunt
lawnmower.
double. They just like told him
Yeah.
to do it.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Get in the powerlifting competition. Become world's strongest boy.
World's strongest boy.
World's strongest lawnmower thrower.
Boom. It's like the new shot put.
Yeah.
Olympic sport. Yeah, fuck the shot put. Let's just throw some
Oh, yeah.
lawnmowers. Gotta do something with those old lawnmowers. What other topics you guys got here?
I got nothing. I think I've said everything.
I'm A-okay.
I was strange that they bought him a gun, but then they kind of set up that's the kind of world culture they were living in. But I even, not that they bought him a gun because they're hunters. I just think, and they clearly again set up that the uncle is kind of spacey. It just feels like even if you're in that world, that's something you would get a clearance from with the parent, you know?
Yeah.
You'd-
Kind of
so-
sets.
Well, he did with the mom.
Did he?
Yeah,
No.
because they whipped
Oh,
out the
yeah,
gun,
that's
and then the
so-
mom's like, "No, it's okay. He's old enough." I don't know what she says.
No, but
I think the mom
the
was
dad
just
is
going
in-
along with it.
Yeah, I think she's going along. I mean,
'Cause she
I
didn't
took it
want-
as they
I
checked
didn't-
with her.
Oh, I didn't
but then
think
she
the
didn't
mom
let her
wanted to
husband
cause a
know.
scene.
She know. Oh, by the way, my sister and uncle.
She didn't let him know when he was when the son had gone out to the barn to look at the thing.
Yeah, but that's a
She was
much bigger.
That's
At that point, the family's kind of falling apart.
This is just a little like, hey, we're gonna get him a gun. That's a quick conversation, you know. And then he just freaks out in the middle of the pub, which is like a little. I get what they're going for, but a little bit of an awkward scene. So that's where some of the stuff, just the pacing and rush. They kind of felt like they rushed through a lot of those beats, which is. I don't know if they had to be an hour and a half for a movie like this for use the budget, then I completely understand. If not, I don't completely understand, but I understand why some choices were made. But if they could have went longer or changed some things, that would have been great.
Yeah, I do think longer would have been good. Just more development with the kid and the family.
Just more time to breathe in some of these scenes, just so quickly, you know. So, Taylor, anything?
No. I don't know. Like, puberty is a hell of a time.
Hell of a drug.
You know?
I never went through anything like that.
Yeah.
No? Well, I mean...
Benjamin Button over here.
This... I don't know. I've never lived in a small town like Brightburn. I don't know. It's just... Obviously, these kids have to occupy themselves somehow. You know, personally, I'm not flying up into...
What is the population of Nanaimo? That's kind of small, isn't it?
Nanaimo, like 90-something thousand.
Okay, that's quite a few people. That's more than Brightburn.
92 people.
92.
But yeah, no, I think... He definitely made that transition, that whole flip, really quick. You know, the parents were dumb. The aunt isn't going to be a problem anymore because she's mourning the dude, the Uncle Roy.
Yeah,
but
she's another one that could put the things together.
Yeah, no, but she's a wreck. She's she won't be participating anymore. But I do
got
think
a new sign to put up after.
Yeah, seriously.
I do think though that the oh shit, where was my tangent going? The gore. I thought, you know, the gore, like, I watched the clip ahead of time of like the glass in the eye because I was curious. I wanted to see a little bit more about what the movie was about, and you know that
Wait,
whole
what do you
scene,
mean by that?
they put out a clip, like a publicity.
okay.
They put out the
thing.
diner
A
scene
TV
pretty much.
Yeah.
They put
TV
out
spot.
half of it, yeah.
Just kind of like, kind of wrote people into seeing it.
Sure,
It's
sure.
like a whatever.
Yeah.
But I watched it because I was
Nothing sells a movie like Glass to the Eye.
oh yeah, I was like, this has me.
So
I'm
you watched
gonna
you watched
see
that
now.
before the movie.
I watched it before the movie, and I'm glad I did because that part, like anything in the eye, it's like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna like kind of like half look at it. But you know, again, that scene was great when half of her face was in that red kind of like
and you
like
kind of like
vision,
blurry
like-
see him.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And again,
Very
like
well shot.
Golden Eye style.
golden eye.
Although going into the freezer, like I know you're kind of
Dumb
shocked, stunted, but holy shit, that's the worst idea.
but
of
you
all
don't
time.
know he's got laser eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
but
You
you
just see him
Are you just gonna
moving
stay in the
around.
freezer for a while?
I also didn't know why. Clearly, she was trying to look around and couldn't see shit. She should. I know it probably hurt, but you gotta close that eye. You gotta. Yeah, it was just she kept trying. Like, oh, I could maybe see this.
Especially
time.
how like at the end she finally does figure out that she
Yeah.
can close the eye.
Too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that jaw scene, I wasn't expecting that. Like, first of all, I feel like I would have put the seatbelt on. You know, as soon as we get in the air, like safety first.
He's the type of guy that
But-
seems like he's done a seatbelt.
he was
Yeah,
also
that's
kind
true.
of drunk at that point.
He was definitely
so-
kind of drunk. That's 100% true. I definitely was not
I
expecting
think
it though. When
he might have had his seatbelt on
no, I don't know because he just the seatbelt
because
would've
when the
stopped
car
his
was like
jaw.
this, he wouldn't be in the seat anymore if it wasn't on. He would just like already fall into the front.
What about it?
You were talking to Briggs. You were talking to Briggs.
Was
not
I going
you.
like
Yeah.
this?
So I think he might have had the seatbelt on, but like even if you have your seatbelt on, your face can still smash into the steering wheel.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna have to rewatch it and properly like analyze that whole section
Oh,
because again,
God.
like, why didn't the airbag deploy too? You know,
Some cars just don't have working airbags. I
his
mean,
car was definitely not working.
looking at that man, he's not
He's
not the
not
brightest
on
of the
top
bunch.
of his vehicle safety checks.
What do you think he was doing to Victoria down there? He took
Yeah.
that's the diner lady. What was he doing with her down there?
Erica was her
Oh, he
name.
Was
well,
it?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I think that one my theory at least is with the human anatomy picture and stuff. He's like he was realizing that he maybe wasn't human, and so he was like, "This is their anatomy. What's my anatomy like?" And then he ripped her open to actually like see for himself what a human's insides are like, and that's kind of what I took of it because he's like, "I'm different from
Yeah.
this," but I mean, who knows?
I
He could've been doing some weird shit.
I briefly thought for a second that there were gonna be like alien eggs or some weird shit in her body. I was thinking, okay, this is like 1 to 100. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad that's not the case though.
I thought
'cause I don't know what he was doing.
with the wasp thing. I thought there was going to be some rapey stuff in there. I
Oh,
thought they were
boy.
going to go like
Oh.
real dark with
Good
that.
thing they didn't go that route. Yeah, I was
Because
wondering.
I thought like he was the wasp who implants his children in the humans, and then they raise more of him.
Yeah.
But
power.
He's actually the wasp child.
Well, I was wondering if they were
Wasp
doing
job.
something with that ship. If he was not feeding the ship, but
Yeah.
doing some sort of science stuff. But
the ship had like a really weird looking opening.
yeah.
It was like there's like a bunch of like hands or arms like sticking out of it. It was really.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like it was very intentionally left like in the darkness, but
Yeah.
it was really interesting.
State of the art technology.
Was it?
Maybe.
Well,
Could
it
be.
travels from planet to planet. So
But it also is his only weakness.
it is.
Why
his
would
only
you send a
weakness.
child with its only weakness easily at hand?
Well,
Maybe
technically, a
it's-
plane is our weakness too, right? If we were in it and crashed, it would take us out.
True, but he is
yeah,
technically
but we
invincible.
understand that.
So
If
why
you
not
can-
make his ship out of different metals that wouldn't?
Yeah.
But maybe on their planet they don't. Maybe every metal they have on their planet hurts them, and that's all they got, right?
We go to
it could be
Krypton,
that's-
we're like,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every
it's just
metal
like
hurts
something,
us.
anything from his Earth can,
Yeah.
or his planet can penetrate.
Name a
him.
metal that wouldn't hurt you.
Name a metal that
Make
wouldn't
it-
hurt me.
Yeah.
They could have just made it out of like wood or plastic or
Maybe
something.
they don't got that there. Who knows what's going on Planet Brightburn?
Planet Brightburn.
Yeah,
you
could
know,
be anything.
It could be also
It's
a
true.
test.
These
We
are
don't
good
know. I
points.
mean, they could set it up where
Test
the
this
ship
baby.
could actually be. You know, if the civilization is smart enough to know to use the ship to kill them, they know it's not a planet that's worth going after. Maybe it's something that they do to just
Sure.
kind of, I don't know, catalog and find.
Yeah,
new
after
planets
he
to take
dies, they
over.
just send another pod, and then
with a
resets the
full-grown
cycle.
adult Brightburn one,
or just another baby.
another baby.
Just let it happen.
Yeah.
There could be a whole bunch of other ones there, like you were saying. Like in the future, you get like a whole, like some that are good, or like a whole bunch of
because
different
that's
ones.
the thing with sending a baby. That's what we'll never know. But that's it. I'm wondering what their motives was behind it. Because Superman was, they didn't plan. Oh, we're gonna send Superman there. It's our planet's dying. We want to save our son. I don't know if that's the exact same route, but if it's not, you wonder why you would send a infant there, you know, and not a young child, a man.
You send a young child or a man, it's not going to be that easy for them to blend in. Look at Terminator. Terminator has a hard as hell time trying to blend in half
No,
the time.
they
He's getting
don't.
shot at and everything.
But
You
that's
send a
different.
baby.
That's 100% different because he's hunting something, the Terminator. He's there to kill someone. Then the second he gets shot, yeah, he looks like a cyborg. But when Arnold's just walking around, which doesn't make much sense, Austrian man in America at that point, just, you know, asking where Sarah Connor is. But up until that point, he's just a dude walking around in a bar. So
I
he
guess
looks
their
like...
goal is to use
For
compassion.
me, at least, the way I would see it is, I mean, space is big, and I would say
pretty large.
the most efficient use of resources is to just send a small pod with a child. I think that's probably the easiest, and then, I mean, if you send a larger pod with a full-grown adult, there's going to be like military and shit involved, and a lot
I
of
doubt it,
things
because what
going
happens
on.
if that pod lands exactly where it landed there? There was no military to check
Yeah, I
on
guess
this
so,
kid and
but-
everything. And my whole thing is, so what happens if these people don't find this baby? Does this baby need food and whatnot to survive? Because let's say it does. It just lands and it's there. No one finds it. It just dies. It's like, great experiment, boys. Like, we really figured something out. Like, let's send a
I
monkey
don't know,
this
man.
time, you know?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
think you know, with meteorites kind of landing and coming through the outer atmosphere, I think most people generally would see it. So someone probably, chances are, would have found it, and that was the fortunate case in this sense. But that's something that they should have focused on more in the movie. Was she started looking into like Kansas meteorites and stuff?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
was weird because it didn't.
It
It only
didn't
showed one
continue.
scene of that too, and then it didn't show like any. It showed more scenes of her on the computer, but it didn't show
Yeah.
her looking into it even more.
What did she learn from it? It's not like if they found this baby and then weeks later they found the ship and they're like, oh, maybe this is where the baby came from. They found the baby in the ship, so it'd be like, oh, I should look into that now. It's like, you're going to
Yeah.
not learn anything. It's just be like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, a meteor fell. You knew this already. What does this
Yeah.
have to... So that, yeah, I didn't like that whole classic, you know, horror or something. You need the scene where they get a book and look into this is how, you know, but there's no
Yeah.
info in there. There's no, like, you can beat it. Like, I don't know. Weird scene to put in there.
Yeah.
She was not the smartest.
No.
Okay.
Well, she
No.
loved her son. She looked past a lot,
Sure.
you know?
She did.
Mhm.
I mean, they looked past the fact that this baby fell from the sky, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll just treat him as our child. Sure, why
Yeah.
not?"
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was a sign to them.
Yeah, they must have had a really tough time having a child for them to like just
Except this
Accept
alien
that.
baby.
yeah.
Well,
Laser
I
eyes.
always wonder other people too. Like same thing with Superman. No one questions where they got this kid.
Yeah, where they get the birth certificate.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guess
There's
they could have just been like, oh, we just had this child.
What if there was other?
But
what if
her-
there's already
like her friend, like her aunt and uncle, like would they not have been like, but you were never pregnant?
Exactly. There's a lot of questions.
Well, they
I don't
said they
remember
adopted,
rebellion.
right?
I know, but they're like Brick said. Where's your birth certificate? Where's your everything? Medical.
Do
Everything.
you
like
ask
that.
people that
Yeah,
if they
where
adopt
did
a
they-
child? Show me the birth certificate.
No, but I
government
Give it to me.
officials do.
I don't believe that you adopted
Where,
that child.
like,
You found
okay,
him in
you
the
adopt a
forest.
child, where's the paperwork for adopting this child?
Is that something you'd ask someone?
I wouldn't, but like a doctor might in a hospital because the child
Would they?
will probably need to get checked up on about something or
But that's the
other.
thing. He's never been sick or cuts, right? So fair enough. Dylan's right. You wouldn't just ask. I guess more the family, right? You'd be like, at that point,
Oh,
they
yeah.
it's just
Oh, yeah.
randomly a kid pops up, and
Well,
but it
honestly,
looks,
yeah, if you just adopted, like if a child just showed up, I'd be like, where'd you get him?
yeah, exactly.
And
And then I'd ask, where's the certificate?
You guys would ask if I show up tomorrow's cast, I got a baby or whatever. You're like,
I'd have
"Where'd you
lots
get-"
of questions. I
just,
call
like,
child
start trying to
services.
stab him with different earth metals.
yeah.
Briggs just
Hey, I got a lawnmower. Let's see if he's.
Oh no! What does he do to this fork? Let's see.
yeah.
Chew, baby, chew.
One more random little point that also doesn't matter. When they go hunting, the father's wearing just like the brightest orange jacket of all time. Isn't that just like the worst hunting garb?
No,
of
that's
all time?
hunting. That's like
interesting.
intentional because that way other people who are hunting are like, that's a bright person, so I won't shoot.
But
them.
wouldn't that like
I know
scare animals away or something?
You stay really still.
Yeah. Sounds are more the things that scare animals away.
So what
Sounds
about
amusing.
the whole ghillie suit narrative that video games have been teaching me for 100 years?
That's for
Well,
hunting
video games
other,
are
that's
not real.
intentionally for hunting other people.
But don't hunters do that for animals? Don't
I
they?
don't think so.
There are
not
some-
in real
there are
life.
some
I legitimately
in certain
don't know. I'm
situations.
just-
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think there
I
are
don't think
situations
anyone
where
does that in
you
real
could
life.
wear camo to blend in, but I think
Yeah.
you do those in situations where you're not expecting many people. So
Yeah.
if you're in a very popular area where it has like hunting
Yeah.
licensings, things like that, tags, you don't want to be out there because you'll get shot and
Yeah.
it's not good for
And
you.
when it comes down to it, it's like, would you rather an animal see you and get spooked or get shot
yeah.
by a human?
If I'm Brandon, I don't really give a shit. No one's gonna hurt me anyway.
He didn't know at that point, remember?
Yeah.
That's
Most
the
of,
first
like-
time where they
And
just
his
find-
dad probably wouldn't have let him not wear something.
Yeah,
reflective.
yeah, yeah.
Most
Well,
like
his dad was pretty neglectful. Let's be honest.
he was neglectful. Shot him in the head.
He did shoot his own child in the head.
All
For
the
good reason.
I
All
know,
the
but
stuff.
that wasn't a neglectful decision.
I
That
think
was
he
a
was a
smart
good,
decision.
he was a
I
good
think
dad
that
at
was
the
right
beginning.
thing
He
to
was talking
do.
about getting him ice cream and stuff like
Can
that.
be.
He was making sure he was safe.
I don't know. It was pretty early on when his friends were like joking around when they were playing billiards, and he was like, "Yeah, maybe he did do it."
Yeah, but I don't think that was him being like, "Oh, I hate the kid now." That's the thing. I wanted more of him being like, "Yeah, fuck this kid." I didn't really.
I kind of
kids.
felt from the beginning that the dad was kind of against him personally,
Mm.
but
I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't get that vibe either.
Didn't
Yeah.
trust
We're just
him.
gonna have to disagree on that one, Dylan.
that's fine.
Taylor, what do you want to say about hunting?
That's
You've
totally
been-
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I've worn lots of bright clothing when I go out hunting. You know,
Yeah, no, I-
always on
Yeah.
game preserves.
I'm
and
not
stuff.
claiming this from like the shoes of a hunter. I'm just saying it was
Big-time
just a
hunter,
question.
Dylan.
I was just a question.
You want to go
We
hunting
answered.
sometime, Dylan?
Hmm?
Want to go hunting sometime?
No, not really. I don't
No.
like to kill things. So
I've never shot and fired the rifle to actually kill
So
something.
what's
So
the
have
point
you
of
really
going
gone hunting?
What do
Yeah.
you
my
do?
dad? My
You've
dad.
watched hunting.
Oh, I've watched hunting. Yeah, I play hunting
going
video
to
games.
the
but,
Dutch does not count as hunting.
No, my dad believes you can go out there, you can have the rifle and everything, but you not necessarily have to kill something. You go out there just enjoy it.
I
You
need
just
to interview
watch
your dad.
animals
Just
from
watch
a scope
animals.
while being hidden.
That's called bird
Exactly,
watching.
You
yeah.
also then don't
That's
need a
fine.
gun at all, though. Just
Yeah,
leave
but
it.
what if that cougar you're watching decides to go?
Why are you
full
watching
fucking-
cougars? You see a cougar,
Because
let's
it's
go. We don't just go.
exciting.
There's a cougar.
No,
sit down.
yeah,
watch.
but not all
Yeah,
animals
cougars
are gonna,
stalk you.
It's
come
for the
kill you.
thrill.
Very big thrills,
Big thrills.
But I mean, if that cougar
Big
starts
thrills.
to fucking come at you,
Just leave animals alone. Leave them in their habitats.
I'm the kind of guy. If I see a spider and someone doesn't want it there, I will put it outside. I will
I'm the
not
same,
slap
yeah,
them.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Unless you're
it's bad
snake.
luck to
Spiders
kill
are
them.
friends.
no, it's not.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
that's
but the thing is,
not.
you put them outside.
Are you the Dalai
a lot of
Lama
the
now,
time,
Taylor?
you
What's
find
going on?
spiders inside. It's winter. You put them outside, they're dead. You're killing them by putting them outside. You just got to keep them
I have a
in the room.
terrarium outside my
No, you
house for
don't.
stray
No,
spiders.
you don't. I've
Yeah, I
been to
do.
your house, Dylan.
Yeah,
Don't
but
lie to
you haven't
me.
been around back.
Yeah, I
Around
have.
You haven't been
back.
around the
You,
side.
you haven't been in the
I
barn.
have.
You haven't
No,
been in
not the other
barn.
side.
I've been around all sides of
You
the
have
house.
not been around the
Oh,
fourth
I
side of
have.
my house.
I have.
Anything
Um,
else specifically for this
all right.
movie?
Any other random little nitpick things that I had? No, I don't think so.
Have you heard of a
I'm
tarantula
pretty-
hawk wasp?
pretty
No,
Say that
that's
one more
not about
time?
this movie, Taylor.
Tarantula?
We're talking
did
about
you say?
wasps.
No, we're talking about the movie.
A tarantula hop wasp?
Hawk
We can
wasp.
talk about this after
Tarantula
the cast.
hawk wasp?
Exactly.
That's not a thing. That's three separate creatures that you just
It's a real thing.
blended together like
This
a man
movie
bear
reminded
pig.
me of it because of how powerful the character was.
Show
It
me.
actually reminded me. I'll show you off cast. I'll show you a picture of it.
Okay. I'm excited for it. Join in next week where we talk about
And
New York hawk wasps. or
anything
what
else
they're called.
before we get out of here and drop our overalls?
Geek Fest Assemble.
No, not yet.
Damn it.
I got nothing.
No.
No.
Okay. Yep. I've said everything I need to. I'm gonna give it a 6.75. It's kind of in that
Wow.
middle. Can't give it a
A lot
7,
of
but I think it's a
decimals.
little better than a 6.5. So I enjoyed it. I think I will watch it again because I think I like some of the stuff they did. Was disappointed, and as we talked about it more, a little bit more disappointed as it went on. But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed my time. I didn't walk away being, oh, I really wasted a Friday night. But at the same time, if I would have missed this and then saw it later on, I would have been like, oh, that's fine. I didn't walk out thrilled. Oh, I got to recommend this. I got to see this again. I can't wait for Netflix. Now it's just a rainy day. Need something to fall
Rainy
asleep
day.
to. Oh, sure. I'll put on Brightburn. So 6.75.
I will give this movie a bright burnt out of 10. I feel like
Going back to those
describe
numbers.
my experience. If I'm Brandon and this movie is the dad, it tried to shoot me in the head and it just kind of bounced off. I can feel that it hit me, but my life's not really affected too much. That's
Neat.
That's my new ranking system.
All right, I am gonna give this movie a 5 out of 10, just right in the middle.
Mhm.
It wasn't offensive, and I really
Not like a crumbling 5.
No. It was just like a steady 5, just
Steady.
right in the middle. It's
Sure,
like
sure.
you got a straight line, and it's just like it's just going along the line at like a reasonable.
It's got a
pace.
heartbeat, but nothing irregular.
A Heat Vision 5.
And so, yeah, it was all right. I think there's a lot lacking. I think it tried to incorporate too many elements that it just sort of half-assed in a way. Visually, I think it was really cool, and I think the cinematography had some pretty good moments too. And it's just really cool to see like someone with superpowers just fully unleashed in a rated R film. So that's all cool stuff. But I would not recommend paying movie money for this. I'd say just watch it on Netflix, stream it, do something. Go talk to your friend Todd, who somehow has all the movies
what's up, Todd?
ever.
Dark web, yeah.
Yeah. Taylor.
I felt like the movie struggled to kind of like reach its identity of what it was trying to be, and it could have been one thing or another, but it was kind of all over the place, and it was rushed and condensed at certain times. The end, I'm glad that I saw it. I feel like knowing what the whole movie is now and what I was expecting, I can actually rewatch it down the road on Netflix or something and just kind of be like, okay, well, what I'm getting into, and I can enjoy a superhero villain smashing around and doing stuff.
Smashing the
It's
mics. Let's
Big
go,
smash.
Brandon Breyer.
But I really enjoy the visual cinematography. I think he looks super cool in his suit and all that stuff. But it was a quick movie, and I'll give it probably 6 out of 10. I'd probably say it wasn't anything grand, wasn't anything bad, but I definitely won't. I won't go back to see it in theaters again. If you had to choose, my personal opinion, between this, you only had, No. You only have that $14.99, and you have to choose between this or Aladdin.
Go see Booksmart.
Brightburn was only like $12.99.
$12.99. Well, there you go. You get $2 extra if you go see Brightburn, or I don't remember.
You
how
don't
much
get
Aladdin
$2
was.
extra.
You save $2.
You pay $2
If you're gonna say go see Aladdin, I don't think the audiences are the same. So I'd say
they're very different. But
just wait.
I'm just saying this from my personal experience, having seen both this week. I'd say I enjoyed Aladdin more. But if you're a horror fan, then why not go see it? But I don't recommend you have to go see it. So yeah.
Taylor, where can they find us?
You can find us in the search bar, ladies and gentlemen, the internet connection. Find us at Geek vs. Space Podcast on Facebook, everywhere on the web. We're all over. We're literally everywhere. People are dropping notes all over the place.
We're not on YouPorn. We're not on Castanet. We're not on Instagram.
We have been on Castanet, actually.
We have been, but we don't have a page dedicated to us. So there's lots of places we're not.
We're not on YouPorn. I'm glad that
We're not on IMDb.
Not on IMDb. But we will be, hopefully, on Rotten Tomatoes if you help us get to our 200 subscription comments and stuff like that on iTunes.
Just reviews, not subscriptions.
Reviews, yes. Give us those
reviews. You keep
reviews.
messing that up.
Make multiple accounts and review us multiple times.
Do it.
Yeah, do it.
Head down the description below, whether you're on video or audio. There's all our links where you subscribe. If you want everything we drop, please do that.
Whoa,
because we got
notification
tons of
city.
stuff going on.
That was not identified by the mic.
Next week we got Godzilla. Of course, it's fucking Taylor sending pictures during the
That could have been
podcast.
anybody.
No, it says right there, Tony Stark
Is
the
it
Geek.
Tarantula
That's your
Hawk
nickname.
Stinger? It is, yes!
Next week is
Oh, shit,
Godzilla.
this thing's cool.
The week after that
is that your hand, Taylor? I'm so sorry.
Can you let me do the plugs? The week after that's got Dark Phoenix, and then is E3. I forgot to show our schedule, but we're doing coverage for the Sunday and Monday stuff, watch-alongs, podcasts right after, so you're going to want to be around for all that. So thank you very much for tuning into these weekend, all the casts we drop this weekend, and until next time, it'll not be boring.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Later, nerds.